All right, so we can go ahead and just begin. So,
Okay.
Cassadee, first of all, welcome back to the pop punk world.
Thank you. It's good
Very
be
happy
back.
to have you. So, are you listening to anything specific pop punk wise to kind of get those creative juices flowing?
I tend to go backwards with pop punk. I do love like a few bands that have released stuff more recently. Like I'm always a Blink fan, no matter what they do. So I love their newer stuff. I'm a big Biffy Clyro fan, so I really like the new stuff they've been doing. But as far as just like the influence behind the new music, I can't help but acknowledge that a lot of the choices sonically come from influences from older Blink, and The Academy is was a big one for me, and old like 4 Year Strong, that kind of stuff. That's not super old, but that's
Sure.
kind of what's influencing me the most. And old Avril, I should
Old
say.
Avril, yes, which is definitely the best Avril. But we don't have to get into that. So, you're a Blink fan. Did you happen to catch Blink at the Coachella live stream?
I did not. I did after the fact. I
Okay.
didn't catch
I
it
was going to
live.
say, because
I
I got
wasn't
a
able to
link if
watch
you
it
need it.
live. I know. Oh, thank you. No, I've watched it. I was in tears. I'm just gonna go ahead and say
I was so nervous, and I don't know why. Like, I was really excited for the performance,
Yeah.
but it like didn't start on time. And then you can just watch Mark and Tom just like interacting. You couldn't hear them, but they were just interacting with each other. And I'm like, and you could tell that, there's no bad blood. There's, they're
Yeah.
all on good terms. And I don't know. I guess I was just kind of building more anticipation for me. And I was just starting to get nervous for them. And it's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, what a show. What a show.
Yeah. Well, it's just also like everything they've been through separately and as a band collectively is just so intense, and like they have so many things to channel when they play live now. Like I can't even imagine what that feeling must be like to be on stage in front of that many people and looking around at people you've like known for like 30 plus years. Like
Right.
that's just what a feeling, and after everything they've been through. So I was like, just getting emotional. I love that they're back, and I love that they're happy and they're healthy and everybody's okay. And,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It almost
Yeah, I
feels
would have
like
been.
pop punk is right again.
I know, I know.
I would have been pleased if they just did that one performance. Like that's enough for me to just see them do it one more time. But you get more is very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yep. It's exciting for sure.
All right, Cassie. So we have to kind of start from the beginning of the Hey Monday
That's a good
days.
place to start.
Yeah, I want to start off in the Hey Monday era because, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about it because although like my main teenage years were spent listening to pop punk, I sort of left the genre around 2007, 2008. I started listening to country music, and that was like my main thing up until actually starting All Punked Up in 2016. So I stopped listening to pop punk, or at least following it, right around the time when Hey Monday would have been coming out in around 2008 or so. So, so I missed a good bit of time with the scene. So how did you even get into music? How did Hey Monday form?
I had been singing since I was 4 years old. So I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida. I had been taking voice lessons since 4 years old. And it was really just serendipitous how it all kind of lined up because I got these managers when I was like 11 who had no business being managers, but that's fine. We're not going to talk about that. And they were my managers until I was like 18. But all of that in between was like playing fairs and stuff in West Palm Beach, Florida. And eventually I went to the Atlantis Music Conference in Atlanta where Richard Rains was on the panel, one of the panels.
Okay.
And
Richard Rains from Drive Thru for the people
from
listening.
Drive Thru Records. My hero at that time. He had so many bands that I absolutely loved. And I went up to him after the panel and was like, "Hey, I'm a singer. Can I sing for you?" Because I didn't have any demos. So he said yes. And I went with my little managers and Richard and my mom, and we found like a ballroom in one of the rooms in the hotel I think they had the thing at. And I sang for him. He signed me to a development deal. A year goes by. No one likes anything I'm writing because I've always been pop. My sensibilities songwriting wise are like pop melodies And I think they wanted like the next Rilo Kiley, and I just wasn't giving them that. So I got off that, went to the same conference a year later, and I met a A&R at Columbia Records called, his name's Jay Heron, and I had a demo this time. So I went up to him after his panel, gave him the demo. Fast forward, he like came to Florida where he saw my old band Blake, which is my middle name, play a show, decided he wanted to fly us out to New York City to showcase for Columbia Records. And that's where I met my future manager, Brett Descend at Ozone Management. He had Boys Like Girls, Metro Station, We the Kings at the time.
Oh, nice.
And he was just like killing it. So like the fact that he came to the showcase was like a big deal. The managers from Florida didn't love him, obviously. And so I ended up kicking a few band members out, which is pretty savage, but my old managers kind of put these two dudes in the band that I didn't like. And I was a kid, so I just was like, okay. But now that a label was getting involved, I was like, we're going to be on tour. We got to like make sure that this vibes.
How old are you at this time?
Yeah.
I think I was 17 at that point.
Okay.
I could have even been 16.
Okay.
It's hard to remember because the span of like that showcase to getting signed to touring was like a couple of years. So I think I might have even been 16.
Okay.
And I got a couple members in the band, got rid of those old managers. And then Hey Monday was just like me, my friend from two friends from high school, and this one guy that was in a local band called Easton at the time that left that band to be in our band, and a guy from New Jersey that Brett, our manager, had as an intern one time. So
okay, nice.
Oh, wow.
The band was just like, fun and just a few kids that just like got along really well. And Mike and I, my guitar player, and I went to New York. We made a record. We went on tour like right away, got on the Fall Out Boy tour it was Fall Out Boy, All Time Low, Metro Station, Cobra Starship. That was like probably only our like fourth or fifth tour that we ever did.
Now, was the album released at this point?
The album had just been released. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think our album released in October of that year, and we were on tour. I think we were on tour that very next year in like February or something. I'm probably getting that wrong. It was such a long time ago.
You're right about Hold On Tight was released in October of 2008. So you're definitely right about that. So you're probably correct in the February realm.
Yeah. Because we were on tour with them for a really long time because we went all over the world with them. And then that was Hey Monday.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does. I
skipped a lot, but
that's fine. The quick version is absolutely fine. So my next question is then, what led to the end of Hey Monday? Because you were a solo artist by the time you reached The Voice, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what led to the end of Hey Monday?
So we had a really dedicated, really amazing A&R, and he ended up leaving. So we got assigned to somebody new, which sometimes works out. A lot of the times it doesn't. And then we also got a new label president, Ashley Newton, who is a great person, but totally didn't understand us. And I do think that they were at that point trimming the fat at that label. And also music was in a weird place. Like Kesha was blowing up and MGMT was blowing up. And it's just like very syncable. That was kind of in. And so our A&R was literally asked, like, can you find the next Kesha? And he had Hey Monday and Manchester Orchestra. So he was like, no, bye. And so we stopped getting attention really. And then I started getting the question from the label, like, would you ever consider going solo? And I was like, that's the kiss of death usually. And so we did one last EP. We did one last tour with Never Shout Never in Brazil. That's where I turned 21 in Brazil. It was awesome. And at the end of that tour, before that tour even started, I told the guys that I think I'm going to branch out and do a solo thing because our next year was like completely blank. We had tours lined up usually like a year in advance, and we just weren't getting any anymore. And it was just terrifying to me to be 20 years old and like already feeling like we were declining. And I just felt really terrified at the idea that we could be like in Hey Monday in our 50s and like getting like having day jobs and
right,
really like struggling, and I didn't want that. I still had like stars in my eyes and saw something bigger for myself. So I left and I went to LA and pursued a solo career.
How did the guys in Hey Monday take it at that point? Or did they kind of see the writing on the wall like you did?
Yeah, there was definitely some tension within the band too, because I was the only one signed, and we we're a band in every sense of the word other than that, and it just felt like they had a bit of resentment toward me, and I'm still friends with them, so like this is not a bashing session.
It is what it is.
We were kids, and they were like, everybody dreams of getting a record deal, and while I was like, I was so excited about it, I also was trying to be like, no, but you're kind of like free to leave whenever you want, and like you get a salary and I don't. And so it was just like, I think we definitely had some inner band turmoil. And when I told them that I was wanting to leave, they weren't stoked on the news, but they also didn't like storm off and scream at me. And so it was just like this sad, shitty conversation that we had to have. But yeah.
Okay. John, I know you had to step out there. She was just kind of explaining how Hey Monday broke up. Basically, Cassadee saw more for herself, and there was a little turmoil in the band anyway. So, long story short, she left.
Sad, shitty conversation. So
what?
I assumed it wasn't a happy story.
It was just, it's sad. It's sad. It's like a breakup,
sure.
To be like, it's not you, it's me. I'm
right,
like,
this
isn't. We hit a ceiling, and it felt in my gut. My whole career, through the good decisions, the bad decisions, I've always gone off of what my gut's telling me. And so that was one of those moments, and I was just like, I gotta listen to it. So
yeah, smart. So looking back, your debut album, Hold On Tight, is gonna be 15 years old in October. Yeah, I know, right? So when you look back on that time in Hey Monday, specifically that album, what does that mean to you? What do you think about, I guess?
A lot of it is blurry because I was 18. The trajectory for our band was not normal. From being heard about at a music conference the year before to being signed and on tour with like All Time Low.
Yeah.
At sold out House of Blueses for like a baby band who didn't even tour Florida. Like we didn't even tour our home state. Yeah. That was out of this world abnormal. And then the very next year being like flying to Singapore and Japan, Australia, and then like going to Japan and doing a Japanese version of our album and doing a photo shoot, and like it was just, all of it was so fast and so incredible, but like I almost get like teary-eyed thinking about how it was like too fast. And like as a kid, I just so much flew over my head that I was like, okay, and I just wasn't really, I was excited, but it wasn't registering. And so like my mom has these amazing scrapbooks of all of these like cutouts from magazines and stuff, and she never told me about them until recently, and I looked through them and I was just like, the articles about me being this like sweetheart of pop punk and all these like things that I don't know if it registered for me, that like I had a moment, and it was very I also had imposter syndrome because I was this Florida kid just like all of a sudden doing all this amazing shit. But I look back and I'm very proud. I'm very grateful. But I do get a little sad that it happens so fast for us, and I missed a lot of it.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for everybody when you're in it to really appreciate it.
Totally. Yeah. And it was hard. Like it was, we had moments like we did, you remember Mark Hoppus's show on Fuse with Amy Schumer? Mm-hmm. We did that. And like those moments were like, okay, we were fans of Blank, and we just, that registered for us. But the things that, just like the simple fact of like touring, a lot of bands don't get to tour and don't get on their dream tours with artists that they're huge fans of. And we got on so many. And I look back and I thankfully, I don't think I pissed off too many people because I was like, was I crazy? Because also on tour, it's like I didn't go to college. That was my college. So I was having my college years on the road with a bunch of cool bands that I looked up to. So I'm sure I acted like an idiot.
I mean,
so
you're really growing up on the road.
Yes, yes. And this is pre-therapy. I've done a lot of therapy by this point, but back then I was a walking, gaping wound. I was like, parents divorce, just like the only girl on tour, really insecure, really like all these things that went untreated.
Sure.
So
yeah, that has to be tough, being the only girl on tour. I mean, that cannot be easy.
Well, I had to unlearn a lot of really misogynistic things that I didn't realize. One of the guys, be cool, like be laid back, don't ask for too much. And now as a woman, I'm like, I'm just assertive and I want what I want. And that's not about being a woman. It's just about being an adult who asks for what they require.
Right.
And back then, and so anytime, after the fact, if I would hear somebody say something about another woman about like, oh, she's really high maintenance or on the road or what, she needs this, she needs that, I started to realize that I was agreeing with them. And I was like, whoa, that's not okay. And so I had to really, I was 18 and on tour with some mega bands that were talking like this. So I just thought that was the way to be. And I'm so glad that I realized that that's not how society works.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it is, but it shouldn't.
But but also, you shouldn't be bombarded with it and like have nowhere to go. Like that makes it like society's that way, but at least you could, if you had to, you could get away. Not that that's not really an excuse to keep it around. But I mean, when you're on tour, you're kind of in this closed bubble, and you're forced to deal with it.
Yeah, my dream is to someday start this initiative where there are counselors and therapists that are down to tour and have like whoever opts in have a grant where these counselors are being paid, but it's not out of the band's pocket. It's like, because it's healthcare. So like I'm hoping that this country gets it together and ends up like making therapy free for people. But I also think like just to make sure people are getting paid on the road, like that's a goal of mine to start something like that.
It would be rad as if the record labels actually, forked over the bill for that. That's the least they can do. They're still making billions of dollars from streaming and when the artists aren't. So, I mean, they should really be footing that bill. I mean, they don't give health care out anyway, I wouldn't imagine, right? So might as well at least add that. Because you want to, I mean, when it's healthcare, when it's mental health, I mean, that's everything to an artist. I mean, you use your mind to create, and if it's not okay, then you're not going to get the best product. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Agreed. Yeah, I think people don't realize how tough the road is, and then people think it's really glamorous, and I'm sure it is for some people, but no matter how you're traveling, how luxurious or not, there will be moments where it's not glamorous.
Sure.
And and I think that people don't realize like being away from family and getting out of your routine. If you're like OCD, being on tour is really difficult. If you're depressed, being on the road is really difficult. If you have any of those mental illnesses, you have a harder time when you're on the road. So like to have somebody to talk to out there would just be like, that would have been a game changer for me. I think I would have handled it a lot better. I think I would have communicated with my band a lot better about how I was feeling a bit like alone and ostracized and stuff. And that would have been like a useful tool, but We'll get there. We'll make it happen. See, hopefully
and I just imagine all the farting that you had to endure being around all those dudes. That's just terrible.
I mean, they might say all the farting they had to endure being around me, but
no,
I was
fine.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring up. You kind of started talking like them, thinking like them. If maybe you probably started farting like them too. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, they were like my brothers, and like okay, first time being on tour, and you're in a van, and every stop is a truck stop. I'm gonna get Slim Jims, and I'm gonna get like all. This was before my metabolism stopped working fast. So I was like in heaven, eating everything I wanted. It was great.
Yeah.
But
just eat terribly, sleep terribly.
What could go wrong?
You're still fine the next morning. But nowadays you can't do that.
Oh no. I'm like one burger, I'm out for 2 days.
All right, so let's jump up a little bit because I want to get to The Voice. So by the time you went on season 3 of The Voice, which was in 2012, you already had some success. You had some experience in the music industry. What was your goal by going on The Voice? Were you ready to jump ship to country at that time? Or were you looking for more pop? Did your win or being on Blake Shelton's team, did that help influence your shift to country? I want to know all.
Yeah, all of the stuff. I got it. I got this. Okay.
All right.
I was desperate. That's why I went on the show.
Okay.
I left Hey Monday. I went to LA, was really excited about this solo venture. I was promised a lot of things by a lot of different people and A&Rs. Everyone ghosted me. I was probably there for a year before like deciding to go do The Voice. And it was like, I was broke. My ex was helping pay my rent. Like it was hard.
It was bad.
And so The Voice scouted me and I was like, yes, I'm desperate.
Oh, okay.
I don't even care if I did the show thinking I'd get through a few rounds, get some exposure. Maybe then I'd get like a good manager and then go from there. But I got on the show and I didn't really even have an idea of the genre I wanted to do. I wrote down a bunch of songs that I've covered in the past. So I wrote down like Avril songs and Kelly Clarkson songs. And I wrote down a few country songs because when I was a kid, when I learned to sing on country music because my coach was from Jacksonville. So she was pretty like redneck. And I learned to sing on like Martina and stuff. So I wrote down those as well. Started the show, did a few like pop rock songs, wasn't really standing out. And I needed a standout moment. So I never covered Over You by Miranda Lambert, but I loved that song and I knew what I could do with it. So I asked Blake if I could sing it. Oh, and then the reason I chose Blake wasn't the country thing. It was I loved the way he coached. The 2 seasons prior, he was very encouraging and like hands-on, but he wasn't like telling the artist what to sing. He wasn't telling them, hey, try this genre you've never sang before. Let's see what happens. And what, like, you're trying to win a show, do what you do and then win it. And then, so I liked him for that. But anyway, I asked him if I could sing that because that song is very personal to him. It's about his brother that passed away. So, and he said yes. And I did my thing with it. And it ended up like going crazy. And that was the beginning of, oh, I wonder if I should go back to country. This feels really nice. And I didn't go and sing like only country music from there. I did a Michelle Branch song after that. And I did more Avril, but I started dabbling more in country. And when the show ended and I won, all this cool stuff was coming out of Nashville at the time. I was really excited about Florida Georgia Line, and Taylor Swift was starting to go pop, and the band Perry was really cool, and they're all on this label, Big Machine, and that would be the label that I would sign to if I decided to go country. So I was the first winner on the show that like they weren't sure what genre I was, so they were like, "You pick. You could go pop or you could go country," and I just was like, "Well, I'm kind of burnt out on LA. I don't think anyone here really gets me. So I'm going to go to Nashville." And it was so amazing. Like,
awesome.
That was the best decision I could have ever made.
So do you think that all of your experience leading up to The Voice, do you think that all helped in you winning?
I think it helped with stage presence for sure. I had been on stage for so long at that point, but honestly, like I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And Hey Monday had done like late night television. We did Jimmy Kimmel, and we did that one show with Mark Hoppus, but we had never done anything more than that on television to that scale of viewership. And I was getting sick. By sick, I mean throwing up all the time because I was so nervous. It was the hardest thing, most nerve-wracking thing I had ever experienced. And so I was really hesitant to do the show because coming from like more of a pop punk background, it's pretty frowned upon and it's like looked at like the easy way out. And I remember Dave Grohl one time talking shit about those shows and my heart broke because I love Foo Fighters. But then when I did the show, I was like, that's kind of bullshit. Because it's like, okay,
No.
if it's the easy way out, then why aren't more people successful after the fact? Like that, if it was the easy way out, I feel like everybody after the show would just be like killing it on the radio
Right.
and everything. But like they're not.
Right.
So I personally think, okay, great, you get exposure, you do, but after the show, it's up to you if you're going to be, and it's up to you and your
and you
team.
know what too? The other fact is there's a lot of luck involved with getting famous and having any form of musical success, even for, the Foo Fighters, for Nirvana, Dave Grohl was in Nirvana. He got lucky to be in Nirvana. And I'm not taking anything away from the Foo Fighters. They're one of the greatest rock bands of all time. But there is some type of luck that is involved because there's a ton of bands. I think of all of the bands or all the great singers out there that are just sitting on the couch that never got their shot, Like we can think of, to me, two of the greatest singers of all time is like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. Imagine like Susie sitting on the couch. She could be better than them, and we just don't know about it. So, I mean,
absolutely.
One, you do have to put in the work. You put in the work for The Voice. I mean, you had to go through that. Has to be successful. Every week you have to bring your A game and all of the study, all of the, all of it. And especially if you don't have the experience. Yeah, go ahead.
I would love to tell you what it all actually is because I feel like no one talks about this. So like a week at The Voice, there's the Monday you get the song, you practice it, you go in with the band, you go in with your voice coach, you go in with wardrobe, you go in with hair and makeup and do some trial stuff, and then you do a bunch of interviews. Like the producers are interviewing you constantly. Tuesday rolls around, and I think that's like when they shoot it. And they shoot the band rehearsal with the coach there. They shoot more interviews. They shoot when you do stage blocking and you get there with the band on the stage with like a choreographer, and they tell you where like what marks to hit, and you have to hit them because the cameras. And then Wednesday rolls around, and that's when like you actually shoot the show. And all day leading up to it, you're going through dress rehearsal and things are going wrong and you're just like, it's awful. And then like the next night is the results night. And that's another slew of performances, of collaborations. They bring in other artists, like bigger artists that you can perform with. You have those rehearsals all day as well. Friday, you go in and record the song for streaming platforms, and that day is like filmed as well, and interviews and all this stuff. So like every single day you are doing something. The only day we didn't have Sundays off, but we had like only one thing scheduled on Sunday, which was like one last wardrobe fitting where they're like, making sure the alterations are right. So it was like that for a solid 3 months of just like constant nonstop. So I just wanted to get that in there because it's like crazy.
Yeah.
The amount that
I'd like to see Dave Grohl do all that.
No, I really hope that didn't come out. Like I love Foo Fighters.
No, I don't think so.
My heart broke. I was like, no, my hero doesn't like people like me.
But I do agree with you that, that statement, I understand what he's talking about because, he grinded. You also grinded too, though. So I wouldn't take it too personal. This isn't like, and I would never talk bad about Carrie Underwood, but she probably had the biggest career out of anybody out of any of those singing shows. But like, she was just a, hometown girl from Kentucky or something. Like, I don't know that she did any type of music besides singing to herself or whatever. I can't really remember the story, but my goodness, did she blow up and is one of the greatest country artists of all time. So I can see it in regard to that, what he means. But like, if I were you, I wouldn't take it personal because like I said, you did the Hey Monday thing. You grinded on tour. I want to say that's probably what he was talking about. But at the same time, like I said, there's a lot of luck involved. And he got lucky. You got lucky. Carrie Underwood got lucky. Everybody got lucky. Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, they all got lucky.
And nothing you described about doing the show sounded easy to me.
No, not at all.
No,
it all sounded frightening.
It's really hard. It's terrifying. And that was like before the live rounds where you actually do all of that in live, where it's all over the country and some countries that are watching illegally,
Right.
It's
So
intense.
So you win The Voice.
Mm-hmm.
It was nonstop, constantly filming for however many weeks you did it for. What was that first year like after winning? Because I imagine it just still continued, and it had to have been nonstop after that.
Yeah, it was nuts. The 24 hours specifically after was the craziest thing I've ever experienced, because I won, and then that night was like the after party, and I'm not really like a big party person, especially when I know I have to be up at like 4 a.m. the next morning to fly to New York City.
Sure.
So I just like popped in, and I felt like kind of bad, but I was like, hi, I really gotta go to bed. And I flew to New York City and got like 2 hours of sleep, and then all day was like these great, like amazing press opportunities, like Anderson Cooper and Kelly, and it was like Kelly and Michael, I think at the time, just David Letterman, like crazy stuff. Everyone, and then I like literally went back home in LA for a week for Christmas, and then January 1st flew to Nashville, and that year was the craziest year. I was writing for the record. I remember because I was on Big Machine, I kind of got in on the Rascal Flatts tour because they were with Big Machine, and
nice.
so I did the record, was going on tour. I was doing the tour on the weekends because in country music it's weekend warrior touring, and during the weekdays I was on radio tour, and that was really difficult because I've never done that before. Hey Monday would do some radio, but it was like while we were on tour we would pop in somewhere. This was like a dedicated, like sometimes we would fly in the middle of the day to a different state to do another couple of stations in that other city. So we were doing like 4 stations a day. I was singing these like epically hard songs because I'm the girl from The Voice that came to Nashville. So everyone was like, let's write this big anthemic crazy song. And so I was singing like these really high, ridiculous songs 4 times a day for months at a time. And then eventually the momentum slowed, and the second single came, and it didn't fly up the chart as quickly, and the label didn't know what to do with me. And then, then it didn't go as well for a while. But then it went back up with Chris Young for Think of You. That song went number 1 on country radio and got me a Grammy nomination and stuff.
Nomination.
So, like,
yeah, I mean, Cassie, your country career, one great choice for you to make that move, because man, you released a number 1 country album in 2013. Wasting All These Tears, your hit song, went platinum. You did the countless tours. You said you went on with Rascal Flatts, but you also with Tim McGraw, Dierks Bentley, huge names for anybody listening. Trust me on that.
Even I know
like,
that.
What a career. Like, you should absolutely be proud, because most artists, they would kill to have, those experiences or those stats. So that's awesome. So looking back on all of that, like, what's your fondest memories of, your country career or achievements even?
Oh my gosh. That's so hard. Wasting All These Tears was the coolest. It was such a, I thought it wasn't the obvious single, because I thought, I gotta come out the gate with like an up tempo, but everybody was like, this song is a hit, so I released it, and then it was just like the amount of massive country artists that I looked up to, like going back to when I covered Martina McBride. She came up to me a few times when I would see her and was like, I love that song, and she invited me up to sing with her at a couple of things, and so that stuff was just blowing my mind. But I think honestly, like, this is going to sound really, really cheesy, but the most exciting, rewarding time for me in my country music career was when I released my first like independent country record. And it wasn't like I didn't have a Wasting All These Tears moment, but it was so well received, and I actually made money off of it, which was not something I had experienced being on a major label. Always a plus. I feel like I was really just like finding my footing finally after getting off of like a major label and doing just exactly what I wanted. I didn't compromise at all. Like that was really cool for me. And I had like a few Spotify billboards in Nashville,
Sure.
and that was just, so it was like, personally, it might not look like the most successful moment in my career, but for me, that was like a really special time in my life, like
Sure.
finding myself.
Well, yeah, because like being an artist, you're an entrepreneur, and when you are doing something on your own as an entrepreneur, and you see the success that you're doing that, and you know nobody else is necessarily helping you right now do that, it's of course it's going to be a little bit more special.
Yeah, it was a really cool time. And then, you know, just below that was the Grammy nomination. That was
Sure. I mean,
that was also
man,
really
wow, that's amazing.
that was
So,
also really cool.
can you talk about leaving the label? Was this your decision to leave? Did the contract run out?
No.
Like what happened?
I asked to leave. We had just for a very long time not seen eye to eye creatively. I was like sending them songs. I mean, it kind of sounds like the drive-through thing, or I'd send them songs and they just wouldn't get it, or they would be, I don't know. I think coming off The Voice, having this platform that they could just kind of ride on and not have to create their own narrative was really easy and convenient. And then when it was like, okay, now we got to start writing this story ourselves, it was like impossible for some reason. So it ended amicably. I asked to leave. There was obviously, it wasn't the end of the contract because it was a voice contract and those last forever. So there's an arrangement on future, on like, I think actually this might be the last record that they have any cut of, but
This one about to come out?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Damn it.
I have to do the math. Maybe
All
not.
right.
Maybe not. It's so small I haven't even noticed, so that's good. But I just, yeah, I was like, I've been at this label for 5 years. I am finding myself, I don't know, questioning why am I doing music anymore? And I didn't question it because I didn't love it. I questioned it because like these powers that be were telling me like, oh, maybe it's your voice that's not connecting with people, and I'm like having to defend myself to people that are supposed to be my collaborators and my team, and that just felt really shitty. So I just was like, okay, this is toxic. This is not a good environment for me to be in. And thankfully, like, no crazy huge public problem. I'm sure they could say a lot about me that like wasn't working for them either. So it's like, it is what it is. It was a business arrangement that went south, you know.
Sure.
But it was the best decision I could have ever made. Absolutely.
And so now that's led us to this time. So there seems to be a lot of buzz with you returning to the pop punk realm. Can you talk about, you know, this transition to this genre, back to this genre a bit, and maybe your decision behind it? How did this come about?
I had been inching toward it without realizing it. My last record is called Thrive, and it was like my attempt to do like a pop punk country record. I was really excited about it. I had Nick Wheeler from All American Rejects produce it. I had Stephen Jenkins sing on it. I had all these awesome pop punk writers on it, and it did not work. It was such a flop. I had country playlists being like, this is too rock for country, and then, you know, rock playlists being like, this is too country for rock. So it just lived in this weird place where the algorithm hated it. I hate that word, but it's true. And also the touring opportunities were not coming through. So it just was like, okay, I need to step back and think about why this is happening. And maybe I'm just like not seeing the writing on the wall, because I've worked so hard in country music for 10 years. And maybe I'm actually doing country music still because I'm scared of the idea of letting that go and letting go of the hard work I've put in. Maybe even the relationships that I've made over the past 10 years, maybe some of those will dwindle because I'm not working with people anymore. And I finally realized that that's a huge reason why I kept doing country music, because I wasn't listening to it. I wasn't watching the award shows anymore. I was not agreeing with the people they were lifting up, and I just was like, oh, I don't think this is not, again, a bit toxic for me. And I just like, once I let that go, I had a bit of a grieving time, grieving that time of my life. It's always going to be there, but it's over, you know? And then I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready to get back to my roots. And I went to LA. I wrote with one of my closest friends, one of my best friends, Allie Tamposi, who's like just a massive songwriter and pop and rock too. But we just wrote a song for fun, and it just jump started this whole chapter. And
Awesome.
It was like, yeah, the song. Well, you'll hear it eventually. It'll come out eventually.
Well,
Nice.
I
It's
want
not
to.
this one. That's out.
I do want to touch on real quick when you said that you released your Thrive album and it flopped because you couldn't get your songs on country radio because they're too rock for country. Yet they had no problem playing Jason Aldean's "She's Country" or Brantley Gilbert or Eric Church had some rocker songs at some point. Like they had no problem playing those.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Well,
too
it's just like,
country.
yeah. And
I even think I want to say "She's Country" is probably in drop D. So I mean, what country song is in
Probably.
drop D?
I know, exactly. I mean, I always felt like also country music, it's really hard. You really can't get on the radio in country music without a radio promo team, and that costs so much money, and I
Sure.
just wasn't in a position to do that anymore. And so that's a huge part of it, but it's also like it is a genre that struggles still with like sexism and racism and all of the isms. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, I have no label. I don't have a major label budget to be able to hire these things that a major label has. So like, and it's pop punk. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it was a good project for me to do to help me see the light and
I
come back
will
to the
say-
genre that I love.
I will say, I think now we're in a way different time because there's a lot of genre bending going on. And we've had a country artist gone pop punk on the show named Taylor Acorn. And I
I
feel
love
like,
Taylor.
you know Taylor. Okay. She's awesome.
I have her next single. I wrote it with her.
Oh, really?
Oh, awesome.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get the advance on that for sure. But I was
go.
talking to Taylor too about, she's definitely got she has not lost that country twang in her voice or anything like that, but she's true pop punk. And I was
Yeah.
talking to her about how I think that she could play well on both right now, especially if you do like the country songwriting style, lyrically and that sort of thing, which I think.
Yeah.
And I talk about this all the time. I really feel like pop punk needs that because I feel like pop punk lyrics nowadays are very juvenile and
Yeah.
like they're not, or if you look at something like Fall Out Boy, they're very cryptic. It's like, I can't relate to these lyrics, but I like the sound, I like the,
Right.
and I feel like that's why country music is so strong and why it has such a strong following, because the people listening to it are listening to the lyrics and they can actually relate because they could see themselves in those songs.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
I feel like you and John and I talked about it on our last podcast episode. We talked about your song and how we also think that you coming over to the pop punk side. I argued that, Avril, I feel like I've been saying since 2019 that I really feel like it's going to take a woman to get pop punk over the hump. I've been saying that for a long time. And I thought Avril Lavigne was going to be that. Like we did plenty of episodes saying Avril Lavigne's going to get us over the hump. And I really feel like her album, it didn't hit like it should have. And I
Yeah.
feel like now maybe since you're coming over here, you have the country songwriting lyrically. I'm hoping that you at least add that into some future songs. So and hopefully they see some success, and then pop punk, the genre, starts seeing that, and maybe they can incorporate that country songwriting into their own lyrics. And I feel like the genre could just go then, because there's going to be more. At least that's me. That's what I would like to see. But I've been
love
harping on that
everything
for
you
a
just said.
couple of years. So
I am still just reeling from you saying that you still think a woman is going to be the one to to bring pop punk over the hump. That just made me so happy.
Well,
But
here's the thing too about that. Like, I feel like anytime I put on top 40 radio, women were somewhat dominating, especially with like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. You know, like
Oh yeah.
obviously, I'm saying all rap because that's what is popular on mainstream
Yeah.
radio right now. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of women on there, and I feel like
Yeah.
that the guys clearly aren't getting it done. There's a few bands that I think could play. I think State Champs does a good job. I
Yeah.
think they could play nice on country radio too, because actually they had a song with is it Mitchell Tenpenny?
Oh, yeah.
They had a song which I'm like, oh my god, this song, if it is marketed right, State Champs could soar, but they didn't take advantage. And anyways, yeah, I do think that women are the ones that we need to take pop punk to the next level. I truly believe that.
There are really, really, really exciting women that are straddling that line of pop punk and just other genres in general.
Yeah,
like there's some women that I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I love it.
Yeah, I would say alternative music in general, there's a really strong female presence.
Yes.
Totally.
You know, Big Thief is one of my favorite bands, and Adrian Lineker.
I've never heard of Big Thief.
Oh my!
Oh,
they're
really?
wonderful.
I'm writing this down. I'm also old, and I don't really.
Well, we're older than you, but
your job is to keep your ear to the ground. I feel like I'm bad at that.
I mean,
your job is to tell me about stuff. So that way I don't feel
and I tell you to listen to it. But Charlotte Sands is great. Taylor Acorn's great.
Yeah.
Kaylee Morgue is a big one that I think she's going to be big. Stand Atlantic,
Gail.
Pale Waves. I could go on and on.
Yeah. Well,
Gail.
The whole thing about the lyric thing is I definitely am hoping that people hear that in my songwriting, because while country music it's limiting in a lot of ways lyrically, it also is amazing when you go into a room with like the pop punk sonic idea in your head, but like want to tell a story at the same time. And so that's been really fun for me, because like I'm going in with these other writers and producers who have pop punk and rock on lock. That's what they do. And then I'm like bringing in like a concept or like a title that's like not, I agree that I get frustrated when it's like a really catchy chorus and then it just doesn't land somewhere interesting.
Yes.
And that's my goal, is to like have these songs feel, I don't want them to feel nostalgic, because that is implying that it's old sounding. Like I want it to feel fresh and new, but I also want that storytelling aspect to be intact. So I'm definitely, I'm being cognizant of that. And I think that it's been accomplished in a few of the songs. People That I Love Leave is a bit more of like the bridge for me between the country and where I'm headed. So I wanted to lead with something like digestible and to get people to like reacclimate to the fact that I'm coming back to the genre.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that song a bit too, because one, it's got a sad vibe lyrically, Cassadee.
Yeah.
The song's got emo lyrics written all over it. Seems to be about, not getting too far into a relationship because you don't want to get hurt. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I've had a lot of letdowns from men. No, I'm just kidding.
Damn men.
No offense. I've had some letdowns, and it's not, the song's about relationships, but I'm definitely referring to some relationships, not all of them, some of them. Sure. My dad, men in my life, that whether they're like the label executive or an old manager, like just in general. And it's not even just men, honestly, but for the sake of the song, that's where I went.
Sure.
And it's about how those letdowns accumulate and they stick on you. And when you're in a healthy, good relationship, sometimes those things start to flare up, and there's like warning signs that aren't really there, and you feel crazy because you're like, this is a perfect person for me, and I'm so happy. Why am I like imagining things? Why am I sabotaging myself? And to basically ending a good thing. And so I just wanted to kind of capture that panic that you feel, like, oh, this is going really well, I don't know what to do. Because I think that's super relatable for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So
do you think the rest of the album will end up sounding like this?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's a plus.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's some songs that lean even more punk full-time stuff and stuff like that. But then there's some songs that are a bit more like there's a bit more space in the production, and it's a little bit more like anthemic and
Nice.
so I'm covering a lot of bases. There is one that I'm working on right now. It's written already, but I'm tweaking the production. That's like got some more acoustic elements. So it's not really tapping into country at all, but it's like sonically not like a hit you in the face, like make your ears bleed production. So I'm trying to make it flow like a live set. That's always been my thing, is making an album flow like if you saw it live top to bottom, it would feel like it flowed really well.
Gotcha.
When you're making a record like this, do you listen to other stuff, or do you try to avoid listening to other music?
I do. I listen to other stuff. I'm like but I get addicted. Like I get addicted to like one song by an artist or one song by like an artist that came out forever ago. So like you said, Pale Waves, I love She's My Religion. I love Love Abuser by Royal and the Serpent.
Oh, okay. Another good one. Yes.
Yeah. I like hang on to these songs that I'm just like, oh, the choruses just, I'm a pop kid. I love a pop chorus. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff that I've been listening to. I do love Gail. I love what she's been doing. Tate McRae. I love like the stream of consciousness kind of lyric. So yeah, there's been some things that I'm listening to in the interim, but I try not to go too similar to what I'm doing now. Like I try, you know, if there's an artist that's doing something like what I'm doing now already, I could potentially get in my head about it and be like, oh, scrap it all. I need to do something different. When this is just me. This is like, this project is so just what I love, and I'm not looking around at what everybody else is doing.
So I was wondering, because I was listening to Wasting All These Tears today, and because I always listen to the artist songs before doing an interview, just to kind of, I don't know, just to kind of get in the zone. But I was listening to that song, and it made me wonder, is there any chance of re-recording any of your older country songs? Because, for one, Wasting All These Tears, if it's sped up slightly and you put some rock guitars on it, it would hit so well. Like, no doubt about it.
I may or may not already be working on that. So.
Wow.
So much for not being cryptic.
Yes.
I mean, that's like barely an Easter egg.
Yeah, if they can't figure that out.
So we will be getting a pop punk version of Wasting All These Tears.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know the timeline, but yeah.
Good choice.
It's in the oven right now.
It's in the oven. It's bacon. All right. So how many songs do you have written so far for the album?
I have about 10 that I want it on the record.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah. And not including Wasting All These Tears. And a couple of demos I'm waiting on to get back. I think I'm pretty much there.
Right on. So when can we expect it? I know you probably don't have a date yet, or maybe you don't have to be cryptic about that either.
No, I don't. I know. I'm not one of those like, I don't know. But I don't. I don't know, because my goal is I really want to be on a tour when this album comes out, and
wise.
And I hope that that's in the fall. That's what I'm gearing towards. But I also think if I didn't get on something in the fall, like I think it's worth it to hold on to that record until I'm able to get on something maybe in the spring of next year. So if I don't get on, if something doesn't happen by the fall, I'll probably wait until like first quarter of next year.
Okay. Another question about the album, because I ask it to everybody. Any collabs? Any collabs that we can look forward to?
Yeah, I can't say though, because I'm a realist.
Can you tell us what genre they're in?
Rhymes with?
No, I actually can't do rhymes with, because it'll totally give it away.
Oh, dang.
Bark Moppus. No.
Moppus. She. It's a she.
It's a she. Okay.
She, her. Yeah.
Colored hair. What's the colored hair?
Blonde.
Right now it's blonde. Okay. Is she well known? She's well known, I assume.
Yeah.
And okay, one more question: is she in the pop punk genre or country?
I'd say she dips her toe in it. I'd say she's a
Dips
bit.
her toe in it. Okay. Is she on
I got
mainstream
nothing.
radio? Is she on mainstream radio?
I'm not going.
Okay.
You said one
Fine.
more.
Okay, you're
Off,
right.
Cassidy.
One more.
Come on.
All right. So everybody, she's on mainstream radio, I think. So we'll figure that out.
Begin
Oh,
sleuthing.
I'm just terrified that her record label is going to be like, oh, sorry, she
Yeah.
can't. So that's the only reason why I'm not, because
Sure.
it's embarrassing when you say so and so, and then they don't.
Right. Halsey's going to be on my record, and then she's not on your record.
Right. That would be awful.
You lied.
Yeah.
Bait and switch. Okay, so you talked about you want to release this album when you're on a tour, so I'm guessing there's no tour plans just yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. And the whole thing is I did I mention I don't have a manager?
No, but I knew that. We actually mentioned it on this week's episode. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't have a manager. So that actually has been a huge reason why I feel I haven't gotten certain opportunities, because I don't have that extra piece advocating for me in certain places, and one
Sure.
of them being at the agency that I'm at. So I also feel like there's going to be a team switch up, because the team I have right now are mainly country, and there's still, that needs to change if I want to go the direction I'm going in. So there's a lot of some finessing to do, but I think releasing this song without all those things in place was kind of my way of just rattling the cage and being like, all right, let's go. Let's do something. Let's see what, and it's been great.
Are you open? So you're open to, you need a management team. You're looking for a management team. Are you open to signing with a label?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah. It has to be the right fit, and they have to love everything that I already have written and that I want to put on the record. But I'm not off of major labels forever,
Sure.
or even indie labels and stuff like that. There's so many other configurations, but yeah, I'm totally not off that. And in fact, there's been some interest already. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think we kind of reached the end here, but I did ask on Instagram, and thanks for sharing it, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you have time to answer some fan questions real quick before we let you go? Okay.
Yeah.
John, you got them?
I have the list right in front of me. Yes, Tyler.
Okay.
What's a favorite lyric of yours that you've written on the upcoming album, or forthcoming? I would have said forthcoming.
Hey, I wrote it how the fan wrote it.
I know, but I'm just correcting him.
Okay. I'm not gonna say that one because it's out of context. It's weird, but maybe. Oh, that's a really good question. Fuck it, I'm gonna say it. Pull my hair to show you care.
Ah,
well, that might be out of context.
I know.
All right.
But I also was like, maybe it'll make people want to listen to the new stuff.
Yep. Can't wait to hear that one, Cassidy. I really can't.
Bet you can't guess what that one's about.
Second question.
Okay.
What was the first pop punk album you ever bought that sold you on the genre?
Oh, that I ever bought. Well, I don't know if I bought this, but I
downloaded it illegally.
No, my parents
right.
bought it for me.
Oh,
My
Oh,
parents
that
bought
counts.
it.
That counts.
Can I
Birthday
use
presents
that?
count. Yes.
Absolutely.
Take Off Your Pants and Jacket by Blink-182. That was the first one that I
Watch your
had in my
language,
possession.
Cassidy. Jeez. 2 questions and you're... Jeez.
By the way, I did not know
You
the
didn't really...
innuendo until a year ago.
Until a year ago?
Wow.
It took me
Yes.
a while, maybe a couple years to figure it out. And I think, John, you probably told me.
I knew immediately.
See, I didn't catch on.
Yeah.
I
can't
live in the
believe I
gutter.
didn't either. I toured with boys for so long. I can't believe I didn't
Yeah.
catch it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, I remember that was an immediate, as soon as that came out, it was first thing I'm doing is going to get that today.
Yeah.
Just listen to it for a week.
Yeah.
How long have you been waiting? Well, this is written oddly.
Oh, well, sorry.
Oddly. That's so polite.
I'm going to rephrase it so it's in English. Have you been waiting a while to release a single in the punk alternative pop genre?
No, I just, like I said earlier, go where my gut tells me, and
Sure.
as soon as I felt like this feels right, I want to do this, I did it. And I've been writing these songs for the past year, so it's really been a year since I've like come to that conclusion and worked toward it.
Who are your ideal tour mates?
Blink 182.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how fun would it be if Blink and Shania Twain did a co-headliner?
That would be wild.
And then I was main support.
Let's go, girls.
My wife hates her, and I'm not sure why.
Really?
She hates Shania Twain.
She's having a comeback right now too.
She doesn't like her.
I don't think I've ever heard that sentence. My wife hates Shania Twain.
Yeah, I don't know what Shania did, but
well, there's a lot of wrong things being said during this segment. I'll say that.
I did a lot of slow dancing to Shania Twain back in the day. I love her.
That's why.
Some of my first slow dances. Yeah.
Hey, I had a crush on her. She was one of my first crushes, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, same. Who else? Them and Rihanna.
Oh,
Ooh.
It's a weird tour, but I don't care.
Blink, Shania,
Something
and
for
Rihanna,
everybody.
and Cassadee Pope. I'd love it.
Okay. All right. This one's not music related. If you could live in outer space or underwater, which would you choose?
Uh,
I mean, nobody really lives in outer space unless you're on a space station.
I think imagine
you
that
can't
you
just live in
can.
outer space.
Well, let's
there's
imagine
a lot
that
of
you can.
variables. Yeah,
Like
there's a
on
lot of
another
variables.
planet.
Yeah, that's that.
Floating around, whatever.
Yeah.
There's
However,
there's a. I wish they would have clarified, but it's fine. I think I would probably rather live in space.
All right.
see, I thought about that
I'm a little afraid
question
of the
too,
ocean.
and I feel like space is
Something
like,
would inevitably eat you underwater.
yeah, that.
I mean, something would come along and you just get
but
ripped
space would be so lonely. I feel like, but I'm like love.
apart. It's just you and
That's
Sandra
true, but,
Bullock
like-
spinning around.
Yeah, right.
That
Has
doesn't
anybody
sound
found her
lonely
yet?
At all.
All right.
If there was like a colony or something, I would do space. If not, and the colony was only going to be underwater, I would do underwater, and then I'd have a shorter life because I'd get eaten, but I wouldn't be lonely.
Good answer.
That's a great answer. Are you still
you.
planning on doing country music?
Like ever again? I guess.
Yeah, going forward, are you planning on doing it again?
Not as of right now. I can't foresee doing that, but I'm not opposed to collaborating with a country artist that I love,
Ooh.
like Maren Morris or Orville Peck's great.
Heck,
Touring
bring
with Shania.
Shania.
Oh, what if you?
Yeah.
How are you friends with Shania? Like
No, but
oh,
I met her. She's really lovely.
I was gonna say, what if you brought
I'll
her
tell my wife
over?
that.
Brought her over to one of your songs and did a collab, or bring one of the other country artists over and do a collab. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think transparently, I think that through this rebranding situation, I will probably be met with a bit of resistance of like, is she really pop punk, or is she just
Right.
country and it's just cool? So that is why I've shied away from bringing friends from the country space into this project, because I'm like, look, I don't want to deal with like
Sure.
people saying that I'm trying to like ride a trend. So that's why I've shied away from that. But maybe eventually.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. What was the least favorite cover you did on The Voice, and why?
Ooh. I didn't really love Stand by Rascal Flatts, and it was actually the only one I didn't choose. Blake chose that one.
Damn it, Blake.
I know.
Good thing he's
I
retiring
had a
this
really
year.
hard time with that. God, I really had a hard time with that one. It was hard for me to figure out what to do with it. I had to make it a bit. I had to mess with it a lot, and it was really stressful and hard. And it was toward the end of the competition, so it was very terrifying that
It's a
song
high
could be the
pressure.
one to
Yeah.
get me the boot. Yeah.
All right. I think there's one more.
Okay.
If you could get Hey Monday back together to perform one song, which one would it be?
Wish You Were Here. It's my favorite Hey Monday song we've ever released. We wrote it with Matt Scannell from Vertical Horizon.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was my
Horizon.
that's my favorite Hey Monday song. Definitely that one.
All right. Well, there you have it. Those were the fan questions. Fan submitted
Good ones.
questions.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, they did a nice job.
They did
Very
good. They there were a lot, but I could have put down a whole bunch, but we would have been here forever.
Great.
It's the underwater outer space question. I'm going to ban them from Reddit page.
Well, it wasn't Reddit. It was on Instagram, but we can do that.
They're banned across all social media.
All of it. All the platforms.
Booted.
That's harsh.
I personally like the question. That's why I added it. So good on
I
you,
do too.
whoever
Well,
that
you
was.
can unban them then.
Okay.
Thought-provoking.
It was. All right,
I just
Cassie.
don't think they thought it through.
Wow, John is pissed.
This is John though. I mean, all the
I don't
time.
think they thought it through.
This isn't a character. This is just him. He
I
says
love
it out
it.
as
me.
Oh, good. Be your authentic self. You've got this.
I try.
Yeah. You do a good job of it.
Thanks.
No problem, buddy. Cassie, this I think is a good place to stop. Thank you a ton for coming on and hanging out.
Thank you.
It's fun that I actually, because I bring up country sometimes on this pop punk podcast quite a bit. So it is really awesome to have you on with somebody who's had such a success in country music, understands the songwriting stuff and all that. So it was really fun for me. Eye-opening. So thanks for sharing everything that you shared.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, we know you're doing this independently and you're kind of doing this alone, but know that you're not alone because you got two new friends that all punked up doing this with you. So
Thank
we
you.
will support you. Let us know if you got any
And
promos
everybody
or whatever.
that's in our
you.
all punked up chat was very excited that we were going to be interviewing you. So you
Yes.
got many fans.
Yes.
Oh, that
Within
means a
All
lot.
Pumped Up, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and
This was awesome.
and hopefully you can help get that damn pop punk over the hump that they're currently needing to get over. So
We got this. I'll get with the
can
other
do it.
ladies and we'll make it happen.